Good afternoon, everyone. Before I call this meeting to order of the Queens West Development Corporation, I will note for the record that I will serve as acting chair for today's meeting. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Queens West Development Corporation for Wednesday, March 20th, 2019. I'd like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Consistent with the policy of our parent corporation, we welcome public comment on the items on the following agenda. After each item is presented, any comments are received from the directors, and any comments received from the directors, we will allow members of the public to provide comments. All comments should be limited to 2 minutes and should only address the item that is under consideration. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on today's agenda. If so, I would ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to such items or items. Are there any conflicts from any of the directors?
No. No.
Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the directors' meeting of October 24th, 2018. Have all of us reviewed the minutes? I did not have any comments or corrections. Anyone else?
No. No.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
Second. Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments from the directors? Any comments from the public? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, oppose? Oh, aye. Oppose? None? Perfect. My item pass. Next item on the agenda, I'm asking the President, Toby Jayasinghe, to present a request for authorization for the corporation to adopt its operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Good afternoon, directors. You're being asked to approve the Quidix Corporation's operating budget with a total of $83,167, which includes $61,221 in non-personnel services expenses and in personnel services expenses, and an additional $21,946 in non-personnel services expenses. As it relates to the operating budget, it covers part of my pay and insurance and administrative cost for the corporation. For the capital budget, it's a total of $1.510 million, with $450,000 specifically for the Park Ranger Comfort Station, $865,000 for the 47th Street Park entrance and contingency, and also some as-needed legal and property management services for the corporation. There was a question from one of the directors about the source of the capital budget. We did some research and we found that $1.3 million of the capital budget was from the private developers of the Queens West project, and $160,000 is from the Port Authority. Actually, it's funds that's left over from the port's original investment in the project, and as part of the funding agreement, which was first established, I believe, in 1992, there was an understanding that the port would provide a specific amount of dollars towards part of Quidix operational cost, and so that's the $160,000 that is factored into the budget. We'll note that, right now we have spent only a percentage of those funds because there hasn't been a need for legal cost, and of the property management, it's part of our environmental monitor, Fleming Lee Shue, which we retain to do environmental testing to respond to DEC requests and requirements as necessary. So if you don't have any additional questions about that, I recommend that the directors approve the corporation's 2019 both operating and capital budget, but I'm happy to answer any questions or give further clarification as needed.
Is that $160,000 from the port? And I apologize if you answered this already.
Sure.
Is that what's remaining from a pot of money, or is that an annual amount that Like like
The port does not send us $160,000 a year. It's what's remaining
Got it.
from like the port's original investment in the project.
Okay.
And once we have, hopefully, we've eventually met all of our capital requirements to the project, then there wouldn't be a need for those funds.
Got it.
And do you know what the current balance is of that account?
In the capital budget, it's $1.5 million. That's the exact amount that's there. Do you mean the current balance in the Quiddick general fund?
Yes.
Or do you mean, I'd have to get that exact number for you. I was looking specifically into the money that we have reserved for the capital funds.
For the current,
yeah,
for the current budget? Yeah,
right.
we could send it later.
Yeah.
Find out what the remaining balance is.
And you mean in terms of like the Port Authority's investment in the project?
The contribution, yes,
Yeah.
the Port Authority's investment and what remains from it.
Any other questions or comments? I do appreciate, I'm sorry, Terrence?
Oh, I was saying no.
I appreciate
Jonathan,
you.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
I'm just wondering, the two projects cited, are those ongoing? Have they not
Yeah,
started yet? Or
they're ongoing. So the Long Island City, the library has really been a sore point for those in the community. I check in with DDC regularly about the status of the project's completion. At the last update, they're close to completing the library, and at that point, it's turned over to the Queens Public Library System for fit out. So the agreement is that the DDC provides it at core and shell, and then the Queens Library System fits it out for use. And so it's really close to completion, and part of the work for the 47th Street Road entrance and some of the scope of work that would be led by State Parks is tied to the completion of the library. And I'll note also that we monitor this and try to get updates from DDC, because right now the city is responsible for part of the monitoring and reporting to DEC for that site. But once the library is completed, we'd have to have a conversation about moving forward and ensuring the continued environmental monitoring and reporting specifically for the parcel that the library sits on.
Thank you.
And the budget was the same last year?
Yeah, but there's
Same.
been, the only expense that's come out of the budget, again, is the approximate $16,000 that we've spent for environmental monitoring. But the capital budget remains the same because we haven't had to draw down the funds for either the library or the 47th Street Park entrance.
So out of what was budgeted last year, was anything spent, or we're waiting on?
We're waiting on approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we approved the same amount because nothing was spent in the
Yeah.
fiscal.
I understand. I guess that my question is what was the actuals from last year were nothing because
Correct.
of that reason? Okay.
It's a slow-moving project.
We're almost to the finish line. When we get there, we'll have a celebration
At Queens West.
at Queens West. Yeah.
Okay.
But I do appreciate all of your comments in advance. It really helps us prepare to answer your questions. So thank you both for your emails, for your questions in advance. Any other comments? Are there comments from the public? Hearing none, may I have a motion for the capital and operating budget to be approved?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Approved and moved and seconded. May I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Item passes. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I know we all want to stay. We all want to stay. Let's move this down to 34. There are Girl Scout cookies to eat.
All right.
Someone brought several boxes to my office, so it's a good thing. So then it's been moved to adjourn. Second. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.